guest and the last keynote speaker, Ron Sege. And before Ron come up, I have just a few things to say, Ron. So Ron and I have known each other for a while. And I don't know whether you remember, it was June 22nd, 2009, at the 10:30 a.m. The reason I remember that was because our meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. But in 2009, those GPS are pretty bad.
Were you late or was I late?
You were late. Oh, I was late. Actually, the other reason I remember was because you had a flight to catch to go to Boston, because that's where 3Com headquarters was. And I was very appreciative you were still waiting for me. With better GPS today, I will be only late for 20 minutes. So, besides being CEO and chairman for Echelon, Ron was also CEO for a couple of other well-known IT companies, Troppers and Elocoya Network previously. But maybe to me, the most amazing part of Ron's career was his comeback story at 3Com. Ron left the 3Com in 1998 as executive vice president. In 2008, Ron rejoined as president and COO. And as you know, 3Com was later acquired by HP for $2.7 billion. Which is one of the largest networking deals in recent history. So, great job, Ron. So, I used to like basketball. And in basketball, we had Michael Jordan as one of the greatest comeback kid. In golf, we finally have Tiger Woods. After a few years of struggling, he came back. In laptop and the smartphones, we have Steve Jobs. So I'm very glad in networking, we have Ron Sege. And with that, I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker, Ron Sege.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Ron.
I told you not to build me up because then I will surely disappoint. So it feels like home here. The number of people that I know that from the first time I was at 3Com and the second time I was at 3Com and at HP. So it's great in that sense to be back. And I have my own quiz, so you all know what ICT is, but you'll be a real historian if you can tell me what 3Com stands for.
Communication.
That first one's wrong, but anyway. Just give you a hint, but...
It's the three rings and they stand for data.
Okay, well, you're good. Nobody remembers, huh?
Data, voice, and video?
You know, actually, it's more literal than that. This was Bob Metcalfe's idea back in 1977 or something like that. Nobody? Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's 3 words. The first word is computer.
Communications and compatibility.
Who said that? All right, that's excellent. That's great. You must be almost as old as I am. Well done. So,
give that man a switch.
Yeah. So I have to say I'm not used to being a dinner speaker, and so from my perspective, it's actually not a feature, it's a bug, because I couldn't drink very much wine, and normally I do that at dinner. But anyway, after dinner. So Jane asked me to talk a little bit about 3Com's China out strategy and how we were able to resurrect that company and sell it for $2.7 billion. And it really, was perhaps even a more impressive story than that, because 2 years we sold it for $8 a share, and 2 years previously it was worth $1.57. And I'll tell you the story, but the basically the things that when I rejoined the company that everybody thought of as bugs, we turned into features. And the most important one being that we had a great presence in China and a great product engine in China. And when I rejoined the company, the then management was trying to downplay the fact that we had these products and we were a Chinese company, and we decided, you know what, we're going to turn it into a feature, because I'm a student of disruption, and that's really what I want to talk about in my talk tonight. I was blessed to grow up here in Silicon Valley. My father was an engineer that worked on some of the seminal vacuum tube technology in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And one of the things he taught me is, if you're going to be here in Silicon Valley, do something big and do something important. Don't make the next, better router or the next better switch. I mean, Silicon Valley is about disruption. So that's really what I came to believe and what I came to practice, and I was blessed to be part of a few companies that were disruptive. Rome Corporation in the 80s that invented the digital PBX and basically, transformed a sleepy analog industry into an exciting digital one. It was the precursor of NBX and VCX and all these great products we know today. And then I went to 3Com the first time around when networking was something you did to connect a 3279 terminal to a front end processor, and no one wow, yeah, you remember, don't you? Wow, back to you. So anyway, so I'm really about disruption, and one of the reasons I was excited to come here tonight is because you all are involved in disruption. You're here because you're doing the next big thing. And you're doing something that, like not everybody is doing. And people are telling you all the reasons it's not going to work and all that. And you know what? That is, a feature as far as I'm concerned. And that's what Silicon Valley is all about. And you're going to look back on your career and say, wow, I did some stuff that, was different and it worked. And we changed people's lives and we created value, all that kind of stuff. So let me talk a little bit about H3C. So I'm going to show you a little video, and I hate to see myself on TV. So.
As the industry has expanded geographically to reach Asia, 3Com was at the center of that expansion, and in fact led the way through its investment in China, its creation of a joint venture with Huawei, and eventually the creation of a very successful H3C.
H3C in China really is a remarkable story. We went in the space for roughly 5 years, from practically nothing in the market when the joint venture was formed in 2003. And by 2007, 2008, we have captured roughly 1/3 or 35% of the market share, putting us on an even keel with the market leader.
So 3Com has been incredibly fortunate to have a great product line, a great sales team, a great leadership team in China, and China's been a great market for us. And the customers in China are incredibly demanding. They demand energy efficiency, they demand low cost, they demand high reliability, and they're some of the largest customers on earth. So the same formula that's created such great success for us in China is the formula we're now going to apply to bringing those great products to large enterprise around the world.
Blade 3C has emerged as a market leader in China, about in parity with Cisco, which is a market leader in the networking industry, overall in all geographies. In fact, the only geography in the world where Cisco is challenged with a competitor that reaches parity is China. So all the credit goes to the entrepreneurial spirit of that team that has really achieved enormous progress in a very, very small amount of time. So China is really a country where we have demonstrated that we could not only challenge the market leader globally, but in fact, in many cases, surpass that market leader.
So that video was actually, by the way, the beginning of our rebranding of 3Com and the launching of our China out strategy, and part of turning turning the bug of 3Com having such a big business in China into a feature and using it as the foundation for our selling proposition, both to our customers and to our customers and to our partners, and to our investors. And it was wildly successful. And I think we're all made for certain things, and there's some measure of destiny in what we do, I believe. And part of my destiny was to go back to 3Com and to make it, this China out company, because I've always been a student of China, and I've been going to China since 1987. In fact, my first assignment after I joined 3Com the first time around was to set up a repair center for Ethernet adapter cards in China, because at the time we were selling these adapter cards into China, but we couldn't get them out again to repair them. So there was this, this huge pile of broken Ethernet adapter cards that were in China. So I went over there and actually found a professor at Tsinghua University and a bunch of students who we put in the business of repairing these Ethernet adapter cards. And they did it in a classroom in Tsinghua, and it's just what entrepreneurial spirit. We taught them how to do it. They started a business. They were going great guns, and then of course Tiananmen Square happened, and I didn't go back to China for 2 or 3 years. When I finally went back again and found my friends who I'd set up in business, they were still in business repairing 3Com adapter cards, and the business had grown tenfold. So that was my first experience in China, and I've really been a student of China and a fan of China ever since. And one of the things I loved to talk about when I was at 3Com and kind of the inevitability of our China out strategy was this data. And I don't know whether you can see it that well, but basically what it says is for most of recorded history, China plus India, their combined gross national product equaled half the gross national product on Earth. And it was really only in the late 1800s that China and India, their gross national product, started to fall as a result of course, industrialization in the West and the political oppression in China. But as you can see on this chart, starting in as early as 1970, the share of global GDP associated with China has started to grow again. And if you believe in reversion to the mean, which I do, you got to believe that this trend is going to continue. So part of the reason that I wanted to build a China out company is because I believe it's inevitable that China will continue to ascend and regain a certain level of dominance in the world. I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of bringing that success to the rest of the world. Of course, benefiting my Chinese partners, benefiting our customers, our partners, and of course our shareholders. So the other element of this is disruption. How many of you have heard of Clay Christensen, Innovator's Dilemma? Raise your hand, I'm just curious. All right, so this is this is a book, your homework assignment, leaving here, Jane, maybe you can buy everybody this book. But this is, really the Bible for how disruption and innovation happens in industries. And I think it's, particularly germane to your situation, but in general to the increasingly global nature of the technology market. And basically what Clay Christensen talks about is low-end disruption. Almost all markets are disrupted by price performance and by low price. And his fundamental hypothesis is because of the competitive dynamics in developing countries, just the unbelievable hyper-competitiveness and the limited income of consumers, that price and price performance are perfected in places like China and India and other developing continents. And the consequence of that is, as technology matures and commoditizes, it's those developing countries that will be the future of technology in the developed world. And we saw this happen in automobiles in the 70s and 80s in Japan, and we saw it happen in mobile phones even up to today. And it's going to happen in networking. And 3Com was a part of that, and you all are going to be a part of that. So low-end disruption is what Clay Christensen talks about. And I think you should become students of that, because you'll even be more excited about what it is that you're engaged in today. So the three elements of our formula for our China out strategy and disrupting the status quo, as we called it in the networking industry, was first to dramatically drive down costs based on the powerhouse that was H3C in China. Second was to use the powerful volumes and the crucible of competition in China to drive innovation in China and then take it out of China, and then to combine that with a level of service that the incumbents, particularly Cisco in our case, couldn't provide because they were taking their channels and their customers for granted. So that was the formula we adopted, and we're hopeless plagiarists. We took this from someone else's playbook because this is exactly what Toyota did in automobiles, what LG did in appliances, and later in mobile phones, and what Samsung is doing in consumer electronics. All three of them followed one or all of these elements of the formula. Driving down costs, innovating in their home markets, and offering a better level of service. And all of them started from very humble beginnings. What was Toyota at its outset? It was a loom company. They made looms for weaving fabric. What more humble beginnings than that? They were asked by the Japanese government after World War I to create a domestic auto industry. So they created automobiles for the domestic market. Low income, required lots of innovation in cost and technology to deliver cars in Japan that could meet the market requirement. So they pioneered all sorts of manufacturing innovations to get the cost down. And the ingredient that allowed them to come to the United States and be successful was getting the quality up, which is where the quality guru Edward Deming came in, if you know the Deming principle, and he catalyzed the Japanese invasion into the United States. And that was the Toyota formula. The LG formula, very, very simple. LG was a chemical company in Korea. In the 50s, it became Lucky Gold Star, produced a low-cost radio for the domestic market. Again, they grew home market innovation, home market low cost and volumes. They came into the United States by acquiring a US brand, just like Huawei 3Com. Huawei acquired basically the 3Com brand. And in 2013, by some measures, they overtook Apple as the highest volume producer of smartphones. Who would have thought that? They made rice cookers. And then finally, Samsung, textiles. Entered in electronics in 1969, made big bets on R&D, first for the home market and then internationally. And it goes on and on. So this is simply the formula that we followed at H3C. Driving down cost, home market innovation, new caliber of service. And you know what? It was great. Many, many customers were feeling ripped off by Cisco. They were feeling underserved by Cisco's channels. And we had success, beyond frankly, our wildest imagination. And we caught the attention of the popular press. Turning this bug into a feature, talking about China out, talking about disrupting the status quo, changing the nature of the networking landscape got us just a tremendous amount of press and industry accolades that gave us a lot of credibility that allowed customers to feel comfortable buying from us. And that's, in turn, what led to HP looking at us and ultimately acquiring us. Hey, gives you something to shoot at now, right? No, shoot at those guys. They kind of damaged the company after they bought it, but that's a separate. I have to drink more wine. I have to drink more wine for that. So the question is, who's next? Who's going to be the next company to disrupt the status quo? Huawei. And I think you guys can be it. And the most important thing is that you believe you can do it. And I can't tell you, when I went into 3Com, I was ashamed. Oh, we got these Chinese products, we can't talk about them. And God, the first time I went over to China, looked at all these products. It's like, are you kidding me? We're not selling these in the rest of the world? Are you crazy? We're trying to sell these old 3Com products we can't afford to invest in anymore. I mean, geez, bring them over. Put a badge on them and bring them over. I went to the board and said, hey, look, we got to change we're dead if we just keep down we're just going to continue to go down the rat hole. So it's going to be China out. Are you kidding me? Yeah, look, it'll be great. Turn a bug into a feature. Be proud of what you're doing. And you're changing the world. Look, people didn't like buying from Cisco. They wanted a credible alternative. We offered them that. Did we get 100% market share? No. Did we get 50% market share? No. Were we growing year on year? Were we becoming immensely profitable? Absolutely. So that's the 3Com story. That's the formula we use. I think that's the fundamental formula that anybody who wants to move from the developing world into the developed world will use in whatever industry they choose to disrupt. Okay, so I thought I'd offer you a little bit of free advice, what I learned about doing business in China, doing business with, with Chinese. Just, it's free from your perspective, so that's probably all it's worth. And by the way, all this stuff came from a presentation I did in 2008. But so the three most important things that I learned, and I was taught this by other people, and then I learned it in some cases by just making terrible mistakes. But we in the West here, you and I will do a deal together because it makes good business sense. And then we'll spend the next year getting to know each other and see if we like each other. right? In China, it's exactly the opposite. You and I are going to spend a year getting to know each other, hanging out together, learning about each other's family, going to meals, getting rip-roaring drunk and all that, and then we're going to do a deal together. Guangxi, right? That's what we have to have. And so we Americans go over to China, we want to just do a deal, right? Wait a minute, who are you? Who are you again? No, I'm not going to do business this way. And if we're going to do business this way, then I'm probably going to screw you because I don't even know who you are. So, you know, we got to be patient and develop a relationship, and then we do business together. And you know what? Those relationships will last a lifetime. So that's the most important thing I learned. Second thing I learned is, you know, we in the West, you know, hey, we're America. We've been around for a long time. We've learned a lot of stuff. Well, guess what? The Chinese have been around longer. And, you know, they kind of think they learned some stuff too. So just going over there and saying, hey, I'm from America, let me tell you, you know, how to build this product and how to manufacture it, that doesn't always go over that well. So respect and collaboration and recognizing that, you know, they got some good ideas too, and 1 + 1 = 3 is another important element to developing strong relationships in China. You know, third is that, you know, face matters in China. I don't embarrass you and you don't embarrass me, and we certainly don't embarrass each other in front of people we believe are more senior, my boss, my father, my mother, and so on. And then finally, and the cool thing to me is, you know, the only difference between Hong Kong and mainland China are the, you know, sort of political and economic systems that existed in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Chinese are natural-born entrepreneurs. You know, my Tsinghua friends who did that repair service that blossomed like crazy. So, you know, you develop, you do these other things, we're going to do some business together. It better be about making money. And making money quick. So these are the things that, the most important things I learned. A few quotes that I picked up along the way that I kind of liked, again, from the 80s. This isn't one of them, actually. But this was pretty clever. This is actually the great presentation people that Jane hired. But think different. So this is one of them. You know, there's best practice in China, there's best practice in the rest of the world. You all are about bringing those best practices together and taking them global. We're going to learn from what works in China, they're going to learn from what works in America, and we're going to have something unique and defensible that Cisco can't replicate and our other competitors can't replicate. I like this one. If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance less. We got to keep changing. Another one I like is, if you're not the lead dog, the scenery never changes. So get out there and create change. Bill Emilio, who I had the opportunity to spend a fair amount of time with as I was learning how to do business with Huawei in China. He was the great CEO of Lenovo, merging together the IBM PC company into Lenovo. And this is all about world sourcing. We're going to get the best of innovation in manufacturing and sales and service from everywhere in the world, and we're going to take pools of talent from everywhere in the world, and we're going to knit it together into something that's much better than the individual parts. And then I think, you know, this is the last one and is really the corollary to this concept of Guangxi, which is that things happen a lot faster and a lot more effectively if we trust each other. Conversely, if we don't trust each other, we'll spend an enormous amount of energy focused internally, and as a consequence, we're not going to be as effective on the battlefield in the marketplace. So that's a little bit about the the 3Com H3C story, a little bit about disruption, a little bit about what I learned doing business in China. I'm really jealous of you all because what you're doing is really important and really exciting. You can change the world. People will tell you, hey, you're different, you're dumb, why are you doing that? Gee, come work at Cisco, come back to the mainstream. Don't do it. You can build something great here and change the world in the process. So, thank you very much.
Ron, do you mind see if there are some questions, maybe?
Oh, sure. Questions?
So we had an opportunity to meet during the acquisition of HP 3Com.
Yep.
You were there, I was there. We saw what was happening at HP. So what's your opinion of the HP strategy on the whole network thing now that they have the H2C product? Would you see our challenges would be competing?
Well, yeah, so the question is what do you think about HP's strategy and so on? And, I left HP and, I stayed there 1 year. We did the acquisition in April of 2010 and I left in July of 2011. I'm not a big company guy. I don't like conglomerates. Back then I was saying to somebody that, the bosses were saying, you don't sell networking, you don't sell servers, you don't sell storage, you sell converged infrastructure, or whatever it was. You sell all of it together. And the storage guy's going to sell networking and servers, and the server guy's going to sell networking and storage. And I said, guys, I've never called on a customer who wants to buy a converged, infrastructure. They want to buy networking gear. They want to buy storage. And, furthermore, storage guys can't sell networking, and server guys, can't sell networking. So, we're going to dilute ourselves, and we're not going to be able to compete against Cisco. And we actually suffered, considerably for the year that I was there as a consequence of that approach. I hear that they've now got religion and they're back to selling server storage and networking. But I think being part of a big company and they've got to continue to capture synergies. They got to create drag. So I think you are to some extent competing against a converged infrastructure company, and you should use that to your advantage. Printers. Yeah, sell some printers too. While you're at it. And some toner. Got to sell your toner. Any other questions?
What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm giving the talk to you.
What are you doing right now with your time? I mean, you've left HP.
I left HP. I'm running, I'm a sucker for the next big thing. I'm always 10 years too early, but I'm running a company that's doing device networking that was founded by the first CEO of Apple Computer, Mike Markkula. And so this is all about, connecting light switches and lights and integrating everything together with embedded chips that cost $1 and run a full networking stack and so on. It is the next thing. I just don't know in what decade it's going to be the next thing. So I'm doing that. I'm sitting on a couple boards. I'm actually sitting on a board of a company called Ubiquity, which also has its sights on disrupting the wireless equipment marketplace, which is pretty cool. They actually have eliminated all salespeople, all marketing people, and all channels. They just sell direct to end users, and they're growing like a weed. Not that I'm advocating any of that, but it's the same idea actually. Which is there's way too much wasted profit. Cisco makes 60% profit. The distributor makes 20% profit. The bar, it all comes out of the customer's pocket. If we can have a more efficient model, we can serve the customer and grow our business. So that's kind of stuff I'm doing. Okay? Thank you.